Lie on your backs in a comfortable position. And I'm going to call this lesson Arms Getting to Know Legs, or Upper Body, getting familiar with lower body. And just start with getting to know how you feel on the floor, feeling where you are supported. As you lie down in the morning or after a long day, what initially just lets go, allows gravity to hold you gently on the floor. Feel the pad and the floor supporting you. And what doesn't let go? Where can you feel subtly that you're still working a little bit from the day? Maybe you're still thinking about some of the stressful occurrences from earlier or yesterday. Maybe you're planning or preparing for dinner or to meet somebody later. See if you can discern those two possibilities within you. The parts of you that are really here, really present for a new experience. The parts of you that are prepared for the next thing, the next activity. You might notice differences between your right and left shoulders, how the back of your ribs rest on the floor. Feel the arch in your lower back. And sometimes you can perceive a difference between how much arch or how much tone is in one side of your lower back compared to the other. Feel the weight of each of your legs, your right leg and your left leg. And you might notice that one leg feels a little heavier. You might feel one heel pressing on the floor just a little more. You might not. That's okay. And have a sense of the volume of each leg, the size of the whole leg within the skin. Give one leg your attention fully, really mapping out your sense of the size of one leg, the knee, the calf, all the way down to your foot. And then bring your attention to your other leg. And then do the same with each of your arms. First noticing the weight of the right arm compared to the left arm. See if you can perceive, or maybe just guess that you perceive if one arm feels just a little heavier, a little more contact with the floor, a little tense or more relaxed. And then feel the volume of each arm, the space under the skin, the front, the sides, the back, upper arm, the elbow, the lower arm, and the fingers. And again, comparing each side. And just gently, very, very small movement. Just check how rolling your head to the right and the left feels. And don't make it go any further. Just feel that first place where there's a little bit of effort, a little bit of extra work. Feel that as you go to the right and to the left. Just one or two times, just as a beginning comparison. Great. And then one leg at a time, if you'll recall the frog legs lessons, please roll your leg out to the side, let your knee slightly bend, slide your leg up on the outside of the foot, and bring the knee up to bending with the foot flat on the floor, and then do that with the other leg. And this is a way I would highly recommend whenever we have you bend your knees in a lesson or anywhere in life. to find out if this can become your preferred, your natural, comfortable way. Because it really is more authentic for how your hips function. And just the one time, slide them up, and you can keep your knees bent up. So the knees are all the way up towards the ceiling, and the feet are flat on the floor. Good. And then just one or two times, just an inch or two off the floor, lift the right arm and just feel how you sense the lifting and the lowering of that arm. Feel the weight of the arm. Again, the volume. Feel its connection into your shoulder, maybe even your neck. Any work there. And then try the left arm just a couple of times. Good. And then the right leg, just lifting it just a little off the floor and setting it back down. Feeling how you organize yourself, the weight of the leg, how easy is it to lift your leg up. And the left leg. And then I want you to find whatever way is possible without having your left foot leave the floor. So keep your left foot on the floor and reach down with your left hand and just begin rubbing the outside of the left thigh. And notice what do you need to do with your shoulder, with your upper body, maybe even your head, to be able to reach your arm and see how far down your thigh you can go. Can you get it close to the knee? When your arm is fully lengthened, what else would you need to do in your ribs, your shoulder, and your head to slide your left hand all the way down the outside of your thigh? And you might even imagine that you've dipped your hand in some magical healing paint and you're painting the outside of your left thigh. You want to get every spot with this beautiful, non-toxic, environmentally safe healing paint. Good. And really play around. How many different ways can you organize what you need to do with your upper body so that your left hand can reach as far as is possible down your thigh. And then just rest for a moment. Nice. Without letting your foot leave the floor. And then take your hand, dip it in some more of the beautiful healing paint, and find a way to paint the inside of your left thigh with your left hand. How will you do that? What do you need to do maybe with your head, your shoulders, front of your chest? And some of you may just start to discover that it helps to lift your head. That's fine. No limitations there. And would there be an easier way to lift your head? Could your right hand maybe help out a little bit? So if you start to find one way that seems to be the easiest, most satisfying way to slide your left hand on the inside of your left thigh, see if you can then find another way. See if you can find at least two ways to paint the inside of the left thigh. And notice how you're breathing. Is your face and jaw and mouth soft? Great. Let your hand rest, let your head rest. If it's comfortable for you, let your legs down long, letting your knees drop out to the side, sliding down on the outside of your heel. Either one leg at a time, or if it's easy, you can do both. And then just lie for a moment. Very simple movements. Notice how your left side feels now. Your left thigh compared to your right thigh. Your left hand compared to your right hand. Your weight on the floor. And then slowly bend one leg up at a time, please. And this time with your left hand, begin painting the back side of your left thigh. And again, finding whatever configuration you need with your upper body while keeping your left foot on the floor as much as possible. And how can you reach that magic paint to every part of the back of your left thigh, up into your hip and buttock. You might even notice your attitude towards painting your leg in this way. For some of you it might be reminiscent of a lovely massage, and for others of you it might be awkward. Really connecting with our own self through touch is probably less familiar than letting somebody else touch our bodies. Again, how might you lift your head? How might you use your right hand? If you haven't tried it yet, place your right hand behind your head, kind of at the base of the skull. And see if you can draw your elbow towards the ceiling and just gently lift your head as you paint the back side of your left thigh. Notice how you're breathing, folding the front of your body and reaching. All these things. And just keep painting the whole thigh, the top, the back, the inside and the outside, making sure that the entire thigh, every part of it, is completely covered with this magical paint. So you focus on reaching every spot that's possible. Just notice how you're breathing. Do you tend to get really focused and sort of concentrate in your forehead, get that concentration wrinkle? For some of you, this might feel a little awkward, so let yourself rest when you need to, remembering one of the main rules of Feldenkrais, less is more. Never do anything that hurts. Learning to listen and honor the signals of our body. And then let your head down and your arm down, and just take a pause with your knees bent. Just once or twice, gently turn your head to the left and the right, and just see if there's any changes beginning to happen. Certainly wouldn't label this a neck lesson, and yet so much is happening in the arm and the shoulder, the ribs and the spine, that it may influence the quality of your neck rotations without any stretching or effort at all. And now you can lift your leg to begin to reach your hand, your left hand with the magic paint, down to your lower leg, to your shin, the outside, the inside. And again, how might you want to use your right hand? You might want to use it for your head. Some of you might want to use it to help bring your left thigh up towards your chest. Just experiment. What's the easiest way to get your hand down just to the lower leg for now? And maybe even all the way down to the foot for some of you. If you can't quite reach your foot, just imagine it. Linger as low as you can go and see how much of the experience you can imagine your foot feeling if you're not able to actually touch it. Does it help if you roll more to one side or the other? How much freedom can you give yourself in finding a way for your left hand to explore that lower leg so that no spot is left unpainted, nothing neglected? If you've ever received a massage, you know, sometimes there's that one spot that you were hoping he or she would get. And I'm never quite sure anyway, you know, should I tell them to get that spot? And I usually do, of course. But since you're the one connecting with your own leg, you can direct yourself to make sure you get every spot covered. Great. And then just pause, let your head down and your arms down. And knees can either be bent or you can let them go long if you'd like. I find so often in life people come into my office and we see our face more than the rest of our body. We feel often, people feel their shoulders and that sort of chronic tension many people carry. We see our hands doing the work that it's doing, whether we're in an office working on a computer or we're working out outside or doing some other kind of construction type of work. We have this visual and sensory connection with our upper body, and often at the neglect of our lower body. And this is a wonderful way to integrate the two and really make a deep sensory connection. Again, just feeling how your left leg feels now compared to your right leg, left arm and right arm. And again, bend both knees up, please. It's comfortable for you rolling the leg out to the side and then bending the knee up with the foot flat on the floor. And one last time with the left hand to the left leg, paint the entire leg from the thigh and hip all the way down to the foot. Just one last coat to make sure the whole thing's been got. So we got the primer, and now you've picked your color, sprinkled in the magic healing dust. Maybe you can tell we recently had a painting project in our house. All the way down, every toe, all 5 of them, or at least imagining all 5 of them. Using your right hand as necessary to make it easy, fun. The last time you did this might have been when you were less than 1 year old. The last time you let yourself get interested in your own leg. Something to think about, huh? Sometimes we get interested in parts, the parts that hurt. Yeah? Great. Great. And when you've got the whole thing, let the leg down, the arm down, everything to rest again. And just think to yourself, if you were to describe the sensations in your left side, What words might you use to describe the sensations? Actually working on a sensation list, a Feldenkrais sensation list. So hopefully I'll have that to you before the end of our series. And maybe a few of you could say your sensations out loud. What's your experience of your left side now, lying here? Warm. Light. Tingly. Nice. Okay, so bend your knees up again, please. And then just think for a minute. Bring your attention to your right hand. And just think, where would that right hand go now? Would it, should it go to the right thigh? Or what would it be like to have it go to the left thigh? And bring that right hand across your body and first begin exploring the left thigh. Don't forget to dip it in the magic paint. So right hand to left thigh. And if you can, keep your foot on the ground as long as possible. How much of that left thigh can you get keeping your foot on the ground? And if you need to help with your lifting your head or using your left arm, and if it feels too challenging and you just can't stand it any longer and you want to lift the foot, do that. But don't get stuck on just doing it one way. Really, how many different ways, how many different designs can that right hand make on the left thigh? You can think of it as faux painting. So you got the base and then you got the primary color, and now the right hand is adding some sort of beautiful textured color on top. And continue your research all the way down to the lower leg and the foot. How much of your right leg can you find easily and comfortably? Really catch yourself. If you start to get ambitious, like the brain starts telling you that the teacher wants you to get the whole thigh, or the lesson won't be good if you don't touch every part, just let that go and just do what you can. Imagine the rest. And really listen to how that, for some of us, how that ambition will push you past really having an enjoyable, playful lesson. Just continuing to find ways to access that left leg with the right hand. And when you feel completely satisfied, you can let the right hand down and rest, leg down and rest. See how that's all feeling now. It's interesting to watch young children play before we teach them about goals and ambition. They just play. They love it when the blocks stack, and they love it when they fall down. They love it when they fall down over and over again. They love it if it gets really tall. They love it if it never gets really tall. They just have fun. Ambitionless. And gently roll your head a little right and left. See how that's feeling for you now. Great. And bend your knees up again, please. And then with your imagination, imagine what it's going to feel like. Imagine as many components as is possible of what it's going to feel like when your right hand begins to paint the outside of your right thigh. Can you imagine what will happen in your shoulder? Imagine the sensations of your hand and thigh touching each other. You imagine what you might do with your head. And as you extend your imagination and your painting capacity towards the inside of your right thigh, how clearly or not so clearly is your imagination of what that'll begin to feel like? A little extra reach, folding more in the chest, in the ribs, the sternum. What will it feel like if you choose to use your left hand for support? Following as much as able how it'll feel painting the back side of your right thigh. And when that's as clear as possible, very slowly begin actually reaching for your right thigh, and take your time to really notice what sensations really match up with what you imagined and what sensations pop up that weren't in your imagination or that you forgot to include in the image of this movement. Just begin exploring your right thigh with your right hand, comparing the actual exploration with how you imagined it. Really feel what happens up into your shoulder and your chest, your neck, your head. Notice the pace that you choose. Are you an efficient painter, or are you sort of lingering, really enjoying getting every detail of your thigh covered with this lovely base coat? Good. And let your right hand rest. Feel your breath. Feel the influence of the breath, not only in your lower abdomen, but in your ribs, your chest. And then begin to imagine your right hand painting your right lower leg. So there's a little more reaching involved. Can you imagine what it's going to feel like to pick your right lower leg up off the floor? With the sensation of touching, how far you can go down your right leg towards your ankle and foot. Some of you will easily reach your foot and some of you won't. You just feel that distance that you can easily reach and be okay with what comes naturally. Again, feel any possibilities of how you'll use your head and your chest, your opposite arm for support. And when you feel like you've clearly imagined as much as you can, begin again doing the actual movement, going slowly enough to really compare how the movement and the sensations compare with what you imagined. Just go ahead and begin reaching your hand down to your lower leg. If you can keep your lower leg on the floor for a while, great. If you need to pick it up to meet your hand, that's fine too. What are those sensations like? all the way down the leg towards the foot if possible. See if you can use the left hand behind the head a few times to see what that's like, as long as that's comfortable for your shoulder. Feeling the whole right leg, getting it all covered and painted, and feeling all the movements involved in your neck, in your chest, in your waist, your pelvis. Even noticing how does your left leg and foot support the reaching down to your right leg. You might be using that in some way. And when you're satisfied with the contact that your right hand has made with the whole right thigh, lower leg and foot, whenever you're ready, just give it a full rest with your legs long if that's comfortable for you. Just feeling the right leg compared to the left leg, the right arm and the left arm. Imagination is such a powerful tool. So much research has been done that the more we can effectively and clearly imagine movement, just through imagination, they can show through functional MRIs that the same parts of your brain start to light up as if you were actually doing the movement. And yet I have found for so many people, they find it dissatisfying to imagine. I've tried to work with a person who's had a stroke, a person with multiple sclerosis, and recently the distance between how they saw themselves moving and trying to imagine moving really well, it was too big a gap for them. And they couldn't just rest in that imagination. And yet at my training I heard the most powerful story I've yet heard about a woman who had suffered a severe spinal cord injury. She was quadriplegic. Now I don't know the details. There are what we call full spinal cord injuries and partial. So partial has some movement available. But her doctor had heard of the method, encouraged her to listen to some Feldenkrais tapes, and she's completely functional. She walks, she works, she moves, she can use her hand. She has a very slight disturbance in her gait that's hardly perceptible. And her physician really believes that through her visualizing, making those reconnections in her nervous system, she experienced a remarkable recovery. So again, please bend your knees one at a time. And this time imagine your right hand reaching towards your left leg. Imagine it finding your thigh. How is it going to find your lower leg? If touching your feet is difficult, imagine what it would feel like to fully touch and rub the paint over the whole left foot with your right hand. And just continue to imagine as much detail as possible in the shoulder and the ribs, what your head will do, what it will feel like for your leg to lift up off the floor. And then when you're ready, begin actually doing the movement, slowly reaching your right hand across your body to your left leg, feeling the connection, letting your left foot lift off the floor as needed. Feeling the contact of the hand with the thigh, and feeling everything else. What happens between the hand and the foot? What happens in the arm and the shoulder and the hip? What happens in the pelvis, in the ribs, in the sternum or breastbone? The head and neck, And again, at some point, if you haven't tried yet, see how your left hand can support your head and help lift it so that your right hand may or may not more easily find access to your left leg. Painting over every part until you're fully satisfied. And then resting. I just realized we double faux the left leg, didn't we? So it must be time to faux the right leg. So let's bring the left hand across the body and begin reaching for the right leg, making that full contact, matching the paint jobs between left and right, breathing, feeling the fullness of breath in the belly and the chest while folding and unfolding to reach your hand to your leg, letting your jaw be soft. Is it possible to keep your jaw soft while reaching and lifting your head? Remember, if there's parts that you can't touch easily, like your ankle and your foot, just imagine it. Let your foot imagine being touched and rubbed. Let your fingers imagine the sensations of your foot. And when you've completely painted your right leg with your left hand, take a full rest. Arms down, legs down. Now feeling how you're contacting the floor. Is there more of you fully present here now than when we began? There more of you being supported by the floor, in contact with the floor. Support is a common and important theme through many of these lessons, because we really can't move easily and freely if we're not moving from a sense of feeling supported by the ground. You can also scan for any of those places that still have traces of work in them, traces of effort or worry, planning or preparing. And just gently, very easily roll your head from left to right. See if you notice any changes in that. It's just a show of hands. How many of you do feel changes in how your head is rolling now? And some of you might not, but we have 100% in the class. So if you're out there in CD land, it's still okay if you didn't feel changes. And then bend your knees up one last time, one at a time. And just like at the beginning, just once or twice, lift your right arm off the floor and set it back down, and just feel the weightedness of your arm, and if it's changed at all. And then try your left arm, just a couple of times, just as a check-in. What's changed? How does change happen just by rubbing your hand on your legs? And then your right leg. Good. And your left leg. Wonderful. And when you're ready, take your time to roll onto your sides, come to sitting. Take plenty of time in standing to just feel how standing feels now. The support of the floor, the sense of yourself in space. When you're ready, you can begin walking around. And when we're all still in that sensing, feeling place, we can begin to share how our body is responding to the lesson. A few words of sensation. So we can all develop that language of sensation that's above and beyond just pain. That it gives it depth and color. And really, sensation is constantly changing. But often when we give something the label of pain, just wording it that way fixates it. So we want to start giving it more mutability, more life and changeability. Well, I hope you enjoy this lesson and the rest of your week. Thank you.